Okay, we are going to resume the meeting. We did begin at 1 p.m. earlier so that we could do an in-camera session regarding the CAO performance review. And then we adjourned about 5 minutes ago, had a 5-minute recess, and now are resuming the regular council meeting of August 22nd. And before we go on, I'm going to ask for an amendment for the agenda to be amended to remove item number 10. If somebody would like to make that motion. Councillor, oh, sorry, there's Councillor Kelly. Go ahead.
Certainly. I move that the agenda be amended to remove line item number 10, review of animal control.
Okay, thank you very much. And the reason that is being removed is the appeal was withdrawn, so therefore there is no action on it. So with that, I will close the motion. Please cast your vote either on your iPad or using your cards. I haven't got there. So use your cards then, or your iPads. Sorry, I haven't got mine. Okay, and that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Right. And the next item we have, number 4, consent agenda, which includes item number 5, minutes of the July 4th, 2023 minutes, and 12.1 policing committee appointments. Somebody would like to make that motion? Councillor Nguyen. Sorry, got fat fingers today. Try that.
I'll move that council approve items 5 and 12.1 from the agenda under consent.
All right, thank you very much. And at any point in time when this motion is put forward, if somebody wants these severed, they may ask for them to be separated. So I will ask if anybody is requesting any separation. If not, then I will close the motion and please cast your vote. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. The next item that we have is delegations. Now, there are no delegations that are registered, but if anybody would like to, and we have a public hearing, so we only have one item left on the agenda. So anybody wishing to speak at the public hearing can do it then. So there'd be no delegations because there's no other items that would be eligible. All right, so we will move on. Moving right on to public hearing 8.1. We have Taryn, Samara, and Cherie Shindy? No, we got Craig. That's okay, it's all good. So just so that everybody understands the process for the public hearing, administration will speak to the public hearing. They will provide us the information. Council will have an opportunity to ask questions of administration. Following that, if anybody wishes to speak in favor or opposed to the public hearing item, they may come forward at that point in time. I will open it up for people to come forward and speak in favor or opposed to it. Following that, council may ask them questions, but there is no discussion and debate with anybody coming forward that wishes to come and speak in favor or opposed. And following that, administration comes back. We ask any final questions, close the public hearing, and go into business arising from the public hearing. So that's the process. So welcome, and we will begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. I am Taryn Samra, and I'm here to present a request for decision that removes the municipal reserve designation from the CN station lands. The CN station is located in the Sheridan community of the downtown neighborhood. The CN station, located at 10030 99 Avenue, is outlined in red. The CN station holds significant historic value for its essential role in establishing Fort Saskatchewan as a settlement and agricultural economy in the province. The lot is approximately 0.23 acres in area. The station has been designated as municipal reserve since 1990. The lot is zoned as HPD, Historic Precinct Downtown District, as per the land use bylaw. It is also designated as a provincial historic resource since 2008, and currently a portion of the CN station building is currently leased out to a private eating and drinking establishment that serves the visitors of the historic precinct. The Municipal Government Act sets out specific circumstances where a city can require land to be dedicated to the city for particular purposes. This includes lands for roads, environmental protection and preservation, schools, parks, and among other things. When a municipality takes land as municipal reserve, the land must be used for specific purposes, including public parks, recreation areas, and schools. In this case, the CN station is being leased out to a private business for profit. This is not included within the listed categories for municipal reserve. The intent of a municipal reserve is to ensure land is used for public park, recreation, or schools, and that is publicly owned. It cannot be sold or otherwise disposed of. This can have limitations on the use of the CN station building because leasing a portion of the building to a private business may be considered a form of ownership. In order to lease a portion of the building, the municipal reserve designation should be removed. The removal of the designation process is decided by council and must require a public hearing. If approved, notice will be given to Alberta Land Titles to remove the designation. Removal of the municipal reserve designation enables the city to utilize the building effectively without compromising its historical significance. Also, just to point out, the municipal reserve designation is not the same as land use zoning. Zoning, as in the land use bylaw, is to regulate land development and use. Municipal reserve is simply a land titles label and ensures public ownership. It is not zoning. Removing the designation does not affect the provincial historic designation. A site designated as provincially historic is protected against demoing and or alterations. The lot will also be limited by zoning regulations in the land use bylaw. A public hearing was advertised in the Fort Record for 2 consecutive weeks. Notices were mailed out to properties within 100 meters. Notices of the proposed bylaw was posted on the city's website and social media accounts, and 2 signs were also placed on the property to notify the public. And at this time, I would like to answer any questions that council may have for administration.
Okay, thank you very much. So please remember just to keep it 2 questions. Councillor Kelly, you're first.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are any of the other lands within Fort Saskatchewan that are cultural or recreational also have the classification as reserve? And for example, the golf club lands or the gymnastic lands or the Dow lands, Dow Center lands, as examples.
I'm not, through your worship, Councillor Kelly, I'm not aware if they are. That's something administration can definitely find out for you, but I don't know at this time.
I don't think it's important. I'm trying to understand the distinction and why it would have been in reserve in the first place, which leads me to believe it would have been common practice. So I'm wondering if we don't have other examples of that in the city. I'm just asking the question.
Your worship, Councillor Kelly, we did do a little bit of investigation before the meeting, and the warden's house also does have the MR designation as well. As far as Dow, the golf course, I'm not sure, but what I can say is that if it is leased to a non-for-profit, it can still keep that MR designation.
That helps. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harris.
So is it fair to say that this is effectively a housekeeping matter because we've had a change of use in a portion of the building?
Through your worship to Councillor Harris, that is correct.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
So I have a question as well. So when we talk about this being a provincial historic building, protected, and understand nonprofits were allowed to be in there, but because we're renting it out or leasing it out, how is it able to be leased out and any upgrades done in that area without that being a conflict with the historic resources?
Your worship, so there's kind of three instruments that are involved. There's Municipal Government Act, there's the Municipal Government Act, there's the zoning bylaw, and then there's the Alberta Historical Resources Act. So if it is leased out, there's nothing preventing, in terms of the Historical Resources Act, there's nothing preventing the city from leasing it out. What it does do, however, is it would prevent anybody from doing alterations that would be in conflict of the heritage designation. So anything that's going to compromise the heritage designation, it cannot do. So for example, if somebody leases out and wants to paint the building, they probably wouldn't be able to do so. They would have to keep the heritage, the integrity of the heritage building intact.
Okay, and then I guess just the second question with that, because so with the operations that are being permitted, so if this is taken off, I guess I just question at any point in time, can anybody then make application to lease out a portion of it for commercial use?
Your worship, it is possible. But so what the MR designation does, as Mr. Samra has pointed out, is it's simply a label that is attached to the title, and it ensures that the city or the Crown is going to have ownership of the land, and that it be used for particular purposes. And the MGA states that it would need to be used for a public park, a recreational area, or a school. So in this case, removing the MR designation doesn't change anything because we still have the historic designation in place that ensures the historical integrity of the building will be maintained. And in terms of it, it's not intended that it's going to be used for a school or a public park or for a recreational facility. So removing the MR doesn't really change anything.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? No? Okay, at this point in time, I will ask if there's anybody that wants to come and speak in favor or opposed. If you do, please stand up and come to where these two gentlemen are sitting. I'm going to give a second call. Not seeing anybody. Don't run too far. Last call, not seeing anybody. Okay, so then I will close that portion off. All right, so then are there any final questions of administration? If not, I will close the public hearing at 2:14 p.m. and we'll go into business arising from the public hearing. We just have to let them present first.
The recommendation is for council is to direct administration to request to the Register of Alberta Land Titles to remove the municipal reserve designation from Lot 1MR Plan 9020082.
Okay, thank you very much. So the wish of council, Councillor Kelly.
Certainly, Mayor Katcher, I'll make the motion. I move that council direct administration to request the Registrar of Alberta Land Titles to remove the municipal reserve designation from Lot 1MR Plan 9020082.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion?
No, I think it's clear and obvious. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I've got Councillor Abatoye on discussion and debate. Go ahead.
Actually, it's a question I had. Sorry, I wasn't able to get it in before now. I was just looking at the risk analysis on the document that was sent, and the risk talks about, if the motion is not approved, what would happen. But I'm just wondering, is there like a inherent risk that the city may face as a result of taking this off, taking this designation off the CN station?
Through your worship to Councillor Abatoya, yes, there is some inherent risk as the city may be in contravention with the MGA, but also the city wouldn't be able to utilize the CN station properly to its most efficient uses.
No, saying that what kind of risk does the city face if we took this off, if we took the MR designation off the CN station? So if we went ahead to approve this motion?
Through your worship to Councillor Abatoya, so if we took the MR designation off of these lands, the city would not face any risk. What the MR designation is intended to do is ensure that the property is owned by the municipal corporation or in the name of the Crown. So it does give us the ability to sell the land or lease it.
Are we already doing that?
Through your worship, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Harris.
I asked the question if this was just a housekeeping matter, because this is just a housekeeping matter. We have a historical resource. We have an old building on a piece of property that had no other land use, or kind of planning designation for it, and hence the MR designation was put on. It makes sense because it's effectively in a park. But now with a commercial lease on the space, I think taking the MR designation off is reasonable, prudent, and it's appropriate thing to do. I don't see it negatively impacts, and I don't see any risk at all, quite frankly, because we are the owner and the landlord of the property, and we establish the requirements of a lease. And there is a base lease in effect, correct?
Your worship, that's correct.
And that specifies to the lessee the things they can and cannot do on the property and their responsibility, right?
I would assume so, yes.
Great. So if that is in effect and it's being appropriately administered by administration for the benefit of the city, and I think the benefit of the people that come down to the historical precinct to get an ice cream cone, I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense. So that way, then we don't have to worry about the reserve designation. I don't see a risk, and ultimately it's a slam dunk, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll support the motion, but I had concerns initially when this was being leased out to a commercial entity, because I think my biggest concerns was what was being used within the confines of that space. Is there anything that could cause a fire beyond, plugging in a typewriter or something? Because it used to be leased out to the Chamber of Commerce, and they had phones and typewriters, no smoking allowed inside. I think that was my biggest concern when this was leased out. And I know we're talking MR Reserve, and this is beyond that. But I guess in support of taking this off and saying we feel comfortable in leasing things out, I think administration really, really has to review what is being utilized within the confines of a very old building, because I would hate to see that go up in flames because somebody had a deep fryer in there, or, something that could adversely affect that building. So just some comments. We're in discussion and debate, and it's fair. All right. Any further questions or comments? If not, I'll go to Councillor Kelly for close. Go ahead.
Nothing further to add. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So the motion is closed. Please cast your vote. And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Are there any, okay, animal control was removed. Item 12 was under consent. Are there any notice of motions? Not seeing or hearing any. Are there any points of interest after a very nice long summer break? Councillor Harris?
I have to commend administration for doing something in terms of changing a service standard. I think we've all noticed that in places around James Mowat School, where there was some road construction a couple of years ago, and the stuff on 84th Street and the Ring Road, we are now getting around to fixing up the boulevard that wasn't properly attenuated when the project was completed. So I'm glad to see that administration has now appears to have changed the standard where they're putting sod in as opposed to seeding areas with high traffic in them, especially around the school. So it's good to see. I'm glad to see it looks better. It's less of an issue, and there's less weeds growing. So my kudos to administration for making that change, and I would assume modifying the service standard we have in that regard. So congratulations.
Thank you. Points of interest, Councillor Kelly?
Just along the same lines as Councillor Harris, we had visitors to our place over the course of the summer, and their comment was very positive regarding the flowers and the general appearance of our downtown core. Very favorable comments, and I think it's a hats off to those people that look after that stuff for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And my points of interest, I attended an Indo-Canada Chamber event last night with delegates from India and from Toronto, Vancouver, a lot of elected officials as they want to start progressing more and having more build relationships between the chambers and our economic development entities that we have, because there's so much export and imports between the two countries that they really feel starting their Indo-Canada chamber here will provide them the opportunity to build greater relationships. So I think that's something that we will look forward to seeing and hearing more, with them working with probably Edmonton Global, the Alberta's Industrial Heartland, and the one that was last night had a major emphasis, of course, on Fort Saskatchewan, with the building that we anticipate will happen on Fort Common and potential investors. So that was a very interesting evening. So, all right, if there's no other inquiries of administration, I will take a sorry.
But we're under points of interest. I do have an inquiry if possible.
Yep, that'll be next.
You did say inquiries. That's fine.
Oh, did I? I thought I said, well, I was, okay. I was on points of interest, but councillor inquiries to administration.
Thank you. Mr. Fleming, several years ago, council talked a bit about the ultimate cost for our downtown revitalization program. And my recollection of that is that administration was going to undertake some work, and then we passed a motion for our capital asset program work, and that would the estimating for the downtown revitalization got folded into that program, which I'm comfortable with. That's my recollection. What my question is, though, are we getting close to having an estimate for ultimate cost for the downtown revitalization? I think the timing is prudent that we have that information within the next 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, through your worship, just when you say downtown revitalization, are you referring to sort of like the roads and the pipes under the ground, like the infrastructure?
And if I used the wrong term, but precisely, Troy, exactly that.
I don't know that I don't know how well the report splits out the downtown piece from the rest of the city, but I know that the report that we've been working on for almost 2 years on the neighborhood rehab program, like the long-term costs.
That's the one.
That program is basically complete, and we're just looking to schedule it in it's just a matter right now of some of the council agendas being so full. I'm just trying to find the right place to put it in. So it's basically ready to go.
Okay.
But I'll ask about how it differentiates the downtown from the rest of the city.
And if you would please, I'm glad to hear that the timing is imminent. The downtown piece, I think we have a commitment over the next medium term to get it done, as opposed to the rest of Fort Saskatchewan, which can probably wait a generation or two. So I think that's important information for council to have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other councillor inquiries. Okay, I will take a motion to go in camera for the balance. Councillor Blizzard.
Sure, I'll make a motion that we go in camera for those issues deemed in camera under FOIP.
Thank you. I'll close the motion. Please cast your vote. And that is carried unanimous. We are now moving to in camera. Thank you.